It's time to heat treat. I've got the Nipco here. I'm going to fire it up to preheat the oil. And then I'm going to do another step. Instead of quenching the blade right away, I'm going to quench this piece of mild steel. It won't hurt it any, it'll just make it black. But the point is this will also help preheat that oil. Then I'll put this in the forge and we'll do the quench. This also gives me a practice run because I've got to take it out of here, out the door, past the bottles, up and up the ladder, and then into the oil, and then hold it there till it's the right temp. You know, it's you get the feel for it after a while. So I'm going to fire up the Nipco, fire up the big forge, and get everything preheated, and then do the quench. It's 30 degrees, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Good news, the blade hardened, didn't warp, but the high temperature silicone is not high temperature enough. Maybe it would be if I did one sword at a time, but man, yeah, that kind of set on fire. So let's see what's going on there. I wonder why that spot got hotter than the rest. It must just be the way things mix right there in the middle. But we'll leave that fan on until everything cools down, and I'll get the oven ready. That oven doesn't currently work right now. I haven't rewired it, so I'm going to have to clean it up and take it in the house. I was formally banned from the house. So luckily it fits in there. You can see it right there. The next question is, I got to figure out why this thing made magic smoke the last time I tried to plug it in. And I got to pull it away from the wall. And in doing so, I will clean off the top. There's our problem. That arced out against right there. They didn't have this pushed up in here far enough to tighten it. Whoever wired this in tightened it on these wires with no insulation covering them. That's a no-no. So I'm going to repair this. Hopefully nothing fried on the interior when that. I think it just sparked out there and flipped my breaker. Upon further inspection, we may just put a new cord on it. That's pretty crispy. Success! All I had to do was put a new cord on it. And we're preheating to 475 degrees. Which is a nice purple color. I got my chart up on the wall, so I don't have to think too hard. I know what colors I want things to be about for certain things. I'll throw it in there for, I think, 3 hours, just to make sure, because I'm out here in a 40-degree garage, because I've been doing stuff out here, and it will get colder this evening by the time it's done. I'll show you when I take it out of the oven. Okay, we're back. It's been 3 hours, and if you look at the test piece, it's purplish blue, right in that color range I want it to be. So I'm just going to shut the door, turn it off. Yeah, now that I've unplugged it, we'll just let it set till tomorrow, and I'll throw it in the vinegar when it cools off and have that eat off all the scale from the heat treating process. Then I'll polish it up. While that thing was annealing in the oven, I decided to change oil and everything that had a filter. So I've got to, before I start sanding on it, I'm going to clean it up in here a little bit. I don't know why my handyman's laying there. But the rest of it's pretty explainable. I don't know why my 4-foot bar is laying there either. But, yeah. So we'll kind of get this stuff put away. I have already done a little bit of work to it. It sat in the vinegar for 24 hours as well. So I'll pull the blade here and take a look at it. So there's still some scale on it where it oxidized in the fire slightly. I tried to keep that to a minimum, but there's always some. And then I didn't just leave that in the vinegar. I also put the strap for the arm. Whoops, I almost dropped it in the vinegar. And it made it nice and pretty like. Like I said, I gotta refine that, but first I gotta get rid of all these tripping hazards on the floor. And I've taken it back to the 120 grit. I haven't done the edges yet. I've just done the flats and gotten all the scale removed. Okay, forgive the buzzing. It's the little heater. It's warm enough to use it again. I've got this side polished down to a, where's that? 36 grit finish. Oops. I'll pick that up later. Look at, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I want the scratches running down the blade instead of across the blade. I think it looks better. So I'm gonna at least go to 120 grit. Got this side pretty much there. I'm gonna flip it over and do this side. It's not a super exciting process, but it gets the desired results, I guess. Time consuming, that's for sure. Just tighten it. Give you a sense of how it works here. It's pretty straightforward.
Of course, I'm using a fairly coarse piece of sandpaper here, an old belt. But I just want to get all those little sideways lines up. And because it's not a mechanical process, no more elbow grease, so I'm cheating by using a coarser grit.
Well, YouTube, here we have it. A nice 150 grit polish on both sides of the blade. As I said, up here really doesn't matter. That's hidden by the thing, you know, the brackets. So for all intents and purposes, the blade's done. I've got the handle smoothed up and taken down a little bit. Now I've got to come up with a way to take the side-to-side slop out. But I want that somewhat adjustable because I don't know how much room the padding is going to take up. So I think I'm going to use probably leather washers just to do that one. Okay, now I'm going to make the little leather washers for the handle. Just going to use a hole saw. I've got this jig made out of boards so that it doesn't wrap up in the drill press because it's pretty flexible leather. Shut that off. Here again, this is where a CNC router would come in real nice and handy. I could just, there are other ways to do it. It's just the one I'm doing, the way I'm doing it at this time. Next time I'll probably do it different. There's my little leather washer. Okay, now I just have to resize that hole to 3/8 instead of quarter. Okay. Then we can do this. Now I'm just going to punch it out to 3/8. I'm just going to take about 1/16 at a time on the bite. Of course, I'm going to go around because it's a round bolt, but if you had a square tang, you'd just go make this into a slot this way. I would advise, if you're doing them for the whole handle out of leather though, that you take a piece of pipe and flatten it instead of using a hole saw. I only needed 4 of these, so I'm not too I don't want to waste the time making a piece of tooling for it right now. Here, I'll just do this. Maybe this will work better. That's little bites. And I'll get my pen here. Let's see if it fits. Almost. See, leather will also stretch too, so. What do you know? I only needed 3 of them. After the felts, I may only need the 2. See how I took all the rattle out? It still spins, but there's a shock absorber on either end now that fits the dome without any extra whittling or anything. And now that'll make that a lot quieter and a lot more easier to control. I'm going to polish this up. It's been rubbed down with the Scotch-Brite to get the oxide off. I'm going to try it with a wire wheel first, see how that works. And then what I'll do is I might hit it with one of those rapid strip pads and then rebrush it. We'll see how much it looks like the rest of the gauntlet with just the brush first though. I don't think I have to hit it with that flap wheel. I think the color is pretty consistent. There's the, oh, a lot more control. I do have to do something to even out all the scratches on the gauntlet though. Kind of give it a nicer, more finished look. Especially since I'm etching a name on it. There's about only one way to do this, and that's to take we'll start with a 36 grit sanding foam thing and just start putting the scratches in. Very time consuming, also very monotonous. But the finished piece, the scratches will run one direction even down the blade, so it'll look really nice, finished and put together when it's done.